Testing, one, two, three, testing. I'll do the three in my mind.
live stream has begun. Okay, thank you. I have one apology from Councillor Mackle. Are there any other apologies? No. Oh, sorry. Alderman Moodray.
I think an apology on behalf of Councillor McElrath.
Okay. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest, and if you want, you can make those as we go through the meeting. Agenda item 3, presentation from Firmus Energy, and the presentation will be made by Mr. Niall Martindale, Chief Executive, and Mr. Paul Stanfield, Director of Sales. You have 10 minutes to make your presentation, and then once you have made your presentation, there's 10 minutes of questions. Okay, it's over to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, everybody. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Look, in the interest of time, I think we're all aware of what's been happening in the energy markets over the last 12 months to 18 months. So my plan of attack for this evening is to give a brief introduction and overview of the slides as shared previously with the committee. And really that means we can allow more time and certainly sufficient time to take questions to both myself, obviously, and Paul here this evening. If that's okay, Chairman, to proceed on that basis. So, look, a brief introduction to Firmus Energy. We're locally based in Antrim. We've been investing in the network, what we know as the 10 Towns network, for the last since 2005, right? 17, 18 years. We've invested 250 million or thereabouts since 2005 in building that network. We have fundamentally two businesses known as integrated businesses, and that is our distribution business, which, to be blunt, is about digging up the roads, putting the pipework in, and making it, putting the connection to the home or business. And we have a retail business or a supply business, which is focused on purchasing the gas for customers on the wholesale market in the UK, shipping it through the pipes into Northern Ireland, and then billing the customers for their consumption of that gas. So two very, very strong complementary businesses, but independent businesses nonetheless. Just to say, on the distribution side, we are 100% regulated. And indeed, our network, which you see in orange here from the northwest running around to Newry in the southeast, is the envy right across the UK, Europe, and indeed beyond for the modern network that it is and the investment that we've made to make it modern. And we'll come back to that in a moment or two. As far as our supply business, within the 10 Towns network, again in orange here, we are the regulated incumbent. So all our tariffs are subject to regulation by obviously the regulator, but also scrutiny from the DFE and the Consumer Council for Northern Ireland. And we have 110,000 customers that we serve through that retail business. In short, we're the largest supplier of natural gas by consumption in Northern Ireland at this moment in time. Whilst we're regulated in the 10 Towns, we compete with the regulated incumbent in the Belfast network area. So as I mentioned there, the last 12, 18 months have been really challenging for many customers across Northern Ireland. We both acknowledge that, and we're very cognizant of that every day coming into work for the last 12, 18 months. It's been a challenge for us as well, to be frank, and we have worked very, very hard to navigate many of those challenges over the last 12, 18 months. As reflected on this slide, and of the 6 bullet points, the first 5 actually point towards how the markets rose towards the end of 2021 and into 2022. Many of you will be aware within the committee, certainly, and the wider council, that we did make, and we've worked hard to make this second price reduction in our tariffs from April 2023. And that is, I'm happy to go into details, but in January we announced a 20% reduction in tariffs. And indeed, from April, we're reducing by a further circa 20%. It's 18.8% in the 10 towns, 22.43% in the Belfast area. But we're the first energy company to make a move in that direction. And again, I'm obviously delighted, but I think it demonstrates the commitment we made previously to our customers that as soon as markets allowed us to do so, we would pass those savings and those benefits on to our customers as quickly as we could do so as well. I say that this broadly gives a build up of the tariff. You'll see the green area, which is really the focus of much of the media over the last 12, 18 months, and indeed very central to our consideration of tariffs, and that's the gas itself, the commodity price. We have other elements to the tariff which are outlined in the pie chart there, but you'll see the 2%. To be absolutely clear, we don't own the energy. We purchase this energy on the wholesale market. We're regulated to a 2% margin in terms of supply to our end customers. That's kind of where we are in terms of looking to the future. One thing's very, very clear. Our strategic ambitions are all focused on net zero and delivering net zero carbon in Northern Ireland. And those strategic ambitions are supported, indeed bolstered, by the recognition within the energy strategy for Northern Ireland that recognises the role that the gas network will play in terms of transitioning to net zero. We've outlined in the slides, and again, I'll bounce through them quite quickly. First of all, is to continue to connect to the network. We're outside north of 170,000 homes and businesses throughout the network area. And in that network alone, we've connected north of 60,000 customers. That's what we call a penetration of give or take 30%. That penetration rate is about 5-6 years ahead of what the regulator anticipated when they granted us a license in 2005. But nonetheless, it represents a huge opportunity for us to continue to connect across Northern Ireland. Every single connection we make is saving up to 52% CO2 savings into the atmosphere. And one of the earlier slides, we did bring this sort of more locally to the Armagh, Banbridge and to Craigavon sort of council area. That's about 180,000 tonnes per annum saving of CO2 as we sit today. Second of all, we're focused on injecting renewable gas into the existing gas network. And I'm not going to go through this in detail, but that will be either hydrogen, and notionally a blend of hydrogen up to 20% into our network, and almost certainly biomethane. Biomethane, the feedstock and the potential for biomethane in Northern Ireland is enormous. One important point to make, the injection of renewable gas can be made into our grid already. The network's prepared for that already. And in doing so, no changes are required to customer appliances at the other end, downstream. So this is a seamless, I suppose, renewable gas and renewable energy coming into the heating of Northern Ireland homes and businesses, and it will be seamless. The third there is developing markets for extending renewable gas. One such being what we call CNG, compressed natural gas market for commercial vehicles. This is already up and active in both the UK, in GB, the mainland, and in the Republic of Ireland. We need the market to develop here in Northern Ireland and make the most of those opportunities for renewable gas. Again, I'm not going to go through this in detail. I'm happy to take questions on it afterwards. But in a nutshell, we anticipate that the gas network will reach 67% of homes and indeed businesses throughout Northern Ireland. We've already invested in Firmus. We've invested 250 million. But the wider network throughout Northern Ireland is an investment of over 1 billion now. It's 1.2 billion. That is a network that needs to be sweated. And that's a network that can drive us all towards net zero in Northern Ireland. Again, some of the slides here, we're covering off why the gas networks themselves, but I've already touched on it. We're ready. It's in the ground already. It's ready and it's primed to deliver renewable gas in Northern Ireland. We are very conscious as an energy business on number one, the cheapest bit of energy is the one you don't have to buy, right? So in terms of driving costs down for consumers right across the board, energy efficiency is massive, absolutely massive for us. And we take a great deal of care and attention and indeed focus to bring, there's just a number of energy saving tips here, but these energy saving tips will appear on every communication we have with our customers, on our website and so on and so forth. And there's a number of activities, again, happy to go into detail if time permits, in terms of driving energy efficiency. So 3 key takeaways for me. 1, we have invested heavily in Northern Ireland, and indeed, by the end of this year, we'll invested £50 million in the Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon area. 2, markets are subsiding in terms of the wholesale markets, and we're bringing those prices to customers. And 3, the future is renewable gas for Northern Ireland, and we are an integral part of delivering that. So look, I appreciate that was a bit of a whirlwind tour through, but I'm happy to revisit any of the slides, and I'm more than happy now to take questions, if that's okay, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Niall, for your presentation. Now open for questions, and the first question is from Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Niall for joining us and for your very comprehensive presentation, which I read earlier. I'd like to thank you first of all. Obviously, there has been major investment in the area, and I know over many times, especially in the area in the Cusher ward that I represent, there's been quite a bit of investment there, but there's also been quite a bit of upheaval, and obviously constituents would be raising issues with us quite often. But I have to honestly say, there's a fellow there that was one of your team that would have worked with us as public reps, Philip Boyd, and any time you call Philip, you can be sure that he always responded to you and indeed dealt with the issues, which was very helpful to us. So I'd like you to pass on my gratitude and thanks to him for the work that he carried out, because it's something that we had issues raised with us quite often. When works is taking place in any shape or form, people contact us as local councillors, and it was good to have someone there who was responsive, but also it was very, very easy to work with. So thank you for that. But very quickly, in relation to the 2.5 million plan for 2023 within that ABC area, could you maybe possibly break down where that next investment is going to be? And in relation to the 16,841 houses connected, can you break down the different towns and areas within the ABC of those areas that you have installed that and the take up in it? It would just be interesting, because so many times we hear people saying, look at all the work that's taken place, look at the upheaval. I bet you nobody's taken up the gas installation connections, and it'd be really interesting to know if there was a breakdown as to the take up, even over the past year or 2 years in relation to that. But thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation.
Okay, now I don't know if you want me to come in there.
Fire on.
In relation to the £2.5 million investment, that's mainly the Waringstown area. So we're currently working in Waringstown at the minute, delivering gas into, I think it's 1,400 odd homes in Waringstown. And we know there's been quite a bit of traffic disruption, and we apologise for that, but we've been working with local traders. In fact, we've had 2 information evenings in the last 2 weeks in Waringstown, making ourselves available for any questions to any potential customers in that area. They've gone down well, and we have had to apologise, obviously, to the homeowners, but we're out of the main village now, which is good. In relation to other connected, we can certainly break that area, that down in the ABC Council area, and I can forward that on to clerk after that, probably tomorrow actually, but I can do that.
That's great. Thank you very much. That would be appreciated. Councillor Pope.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Niall and Paul. Obviously, a lot of local families have found it very difficult with energy costs. Could you expand maybe a bit on the relationship between storage and the costs to the consumer? I mean, over recent times or into the future, are there plans to increase the provision of storage and how that would impact prices going forward? Thank you.
Yeah, so look, storage is one of what we would call a fundamental driver of prices in many respects. And sorry, thanks for your question, because this is really important. Typically what happens is when gas is lower in price during the summer months, typically we pump storage, not we do, beg your pardon, but gas is pumped into storage across Europe, right across Europe. And in essence, what that does is support prices during the winter period when typically prices rise. Now, what we've seen, because of the milder winter, the fact of the matter is there was less withdrawal from that European and indeed UK storage to a lesser degree, but a lesser withdrawal through the winter period. And what that meant is actually we've come out the back end of the winter. We're now in the middle of March, and we have significantly higher storage levels across Europe than what we would ordinarily see. And what that does is support the prices within the market. Fundamentally, there's more supply, and therefore it supports a reduction in the prices. And that's what we've seen. There's a number of reasons for that. The mild winter is certainly one, but actually we saw over the winter period a significant uplift in LNG, so it's liquefied natural gas coming in to Europe and indeed the UK as well over that period. So those two fundamentals are currently supporting prices on the wholesale market.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the presentation. And as others have said, I've worked with you quite closely as a councillor and as a professional, and I have to say you've been your staff is a credit to you. And as has been said, your engagement and your responsiveness is probably second to none in any other service provider. Because, as I say, you do obviously the process of directional drilling, which is a big help because you're only cutting holes and then you drill to the next one type thing, and the disruption is kept a minimum. But I know that within Armagh City and beyond, I remember meetings with you a long time ago in the Moy when I first became a councillor, and I have to say it's been said already, the network that has already been installed is impressive, and again has been taken up by so many commercial clients and obviously some residential owners. I'd be interested to see that breakdown as asked for by Councillor Barry. I have a couple of questions. One is obviously you have a desire for obviously transition to net zero carbon. Have you a time frame on that? Because obviously, yes, the infrastructure and all is there, but obviously there's a supply and demand and supply issue, obviously in relation to obviously the different types of gas as we've seen recently. And I'm just wondering, is there like a time frame of when you foresee your network operating off biomethane or hydrogen in the near future? Yeah. And finally, have you any plans within your network to head towards the Keady area? As I say, I don't think you've gone that direction yet, and I'm sure there's other areas as well. You haven't got. I know you're in Armagh City, and I know you've moved out towards other space, but I would just it's been asked a couple of times because, as I say, there's a couple of big energy users in Keady, and another one being built at the moment, and sounding like Councillor Hanlon, don't I? But obviously they have asked, is there any plans to bring Firmus to the Keady area? Thank you, Chairman.
Let me take the first one. So thanks for your question, and look, to yourself, Councillor Nixon, and all the councillors, really appreciate the feedback. It is important to us, and we will make sure that gets back to our staff. We may not always get it right, but we try damn hard at doing so. So we do appreciate the feedback. First of all, look, a couple of months ago, we did publish and announce our pathway to net zero. And that was a collaboration with all the network providers here in Northern Ireland in terms of the timeline. So that is clearly laid out. There are 6 clear stages and phases for that. So instead of stepping through in the interest of time this evening, I make sure, Paul, if you can share that with the clerk as well, and we'll get that shared with everybody. As I say, the first steps in that journey are continue to convert, let's say, the 60% odd homes and businesses across Northern Ireland that currently are not connected to our network. That's step 1. Step 2 is making gas injection a reality. And gas injection becoming a reality in the network will happen from September, October this year. Now, as it happens, it's in the network to the west. It'll be another year or so, probably 18 months to be fair, before the gas is injected in the Firmus network area. But the AD plant that we're working with is lining up to supply, give or take, 15% of our current demand. Our current demand will be 15% renewable gas. That's in the timeline in about 18 months' time. So that injection piece is reality. All the regulatory frameworks in place, policy, regulation, legislation, call it might, is now in place to make that injection a reality for the grid. On the second one, Katie, I don't know, Paul, if you have any details on the projects that direction.
It's certainly not on the plans in the near future, but obviously we look at each town as we come on, and certainly any information in relation to new loads coming on, new industrial large loads can always help the economic case in bringing gas to an area like Katie. So any information we can receive, we really appreciate that. If that can be passed back to Niall or I, or details are on the presentation, we will certainly have a look at that, Councillor Nicholson, and get back to you and let you know.
Okay, thank you. And Alderman Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. And can I thank the folks from Firmus for the presentation this evening? And I'm going to ask a question here that I already know the answer to, but it'd be remiss of me not to get parochial and not to put it out there again. We had met with Firmus Gas a couple of years ago now, maybe pre-pandemic. I can't really just recall it directly, but we had talked about, when it was coming to Warringstown, we'd spoke about that whole plan as it was coming through the village there. And we're wondering about the possibility of it going on out another 1.5 miles to Donaghcloney, and that wasn't on the cards then, and wasn't in any immediate or future plans. And then I think at the last meeting when you presented to council, you said maybe in the future it'll be in the future plans. So I just want to really put the question out there again: is there any plans, future or even near future, that it will be rolled out to Donaghcloney? And apologies, Chair, for me being very parochial this evening, but now it's rolled out in Warringstown, and we did have the problems around it. But all credit to your staff who did react to local business when there was issues there. And I have to say the guys done the work actually very quickly, and they have sort of moved out of the main problem area there. So that's very welcome news. But just to reiterate the question again, is there any plans for it to come out the other, 1.5 miles out to the village of Donaghcloney?
Alderman Baxter, and similar answer to Councillor Nicholson in relation to Keady. Everything is always under scrutiny in relation to economic. Is it economic to bring the gas out there? And we constantly look through different programs, and we look through different economic analysis to see it. We know where Donaghcloney is, that's all I can say to you, and we know it's close to Warringstown, and everything's constantly under review. Listen, we don't want to stop where we are. We want to cover as many areas as possible, but Donaghcloney isn't in the near future, but certainly somewhere that's constantly under review. That's unfortunately all I can say at the minute.
I think, look, if I could add a bit more context to it, we obviously were regulated by an economic regulator. So the long and short of it is, when we take gas, to all intents and purposes, it needs to be done on an economic basis. But that can evolve. If there's new housing developments, new commercial loads, and so on and so forth that are coming in towards Donaghcloney or can support that economic argument. As Paul said, we don't want to hold back in terms of building the network out. We want to do that, but I suppose the economic fundamentals, I suppose, suggest that we have to do that on an economic basis. So where we look to extend, I say it has to be supported by that sort of load, that volume. Alderman Baxter. So look, again, appreciate the question, and we will take it back. And it's just an ongoing review. There's many sort of towns and villages like Donaghcloney throughout Northern Ireland that we're constantly taking a look at.
Thank you. And finally, Alderman Spears.
Chairman, I thank you for bringing me in here. I didn't intend to speak, but I felt that I had to. Reference was made of Donaghcloney being close to Warringstown. That is a statement of fact, I think, from our friends here and indeed on the screen. Equally, Market Hill is close to Rich Hill. And Rich Hill, I had quite a lot of dealings with the gas company in relation to the provision there in
It looks like the feed's back. Just maybe on mute. Looks like we're back.
Yeah, it's back. Yeah. Jim's talking away, but nobody's listening to him.
Go on ahead. We can still hear you there.
All right.
Feed cut out in us though before.
Sorry, Alderman Spears, you went on or replied in relation to Market Hill. Yeah, certainly was involved in when we brought the gas into Rich Hill, and I'm writing all these down, and don't worry, they're never far away from my mind anyway. Market Hill will be added to the list with Donaghcloney and Keady, and we will review these again and see where we are and come back to you with our findings, and hopefully we will have some good news for you. But let us look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Niall and Paul. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, thank you.
Chairman, if you don't mind, if anybody has any questions at any stage, can they please get in touch with Paul and myself? I appreciate the questions and the feedback from tonight and the opportunity to present. So thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we move on to agenda item 4, and that's Head of Economic Development Report, and we pass over to Nicola.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good evening, members. 4.1, Employability and Skills and Labour Market Partnership Action Plan 23-24. The decision required, it is recommended that members approve the ABC Labour Market Partnership Action Plan 2023-2024 and to note the update on current employability and skills interventions across the borough.
Thank you, Nicola. Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I don't know who's going to come up there, but Nicola, thank you for the report. And I suppose the question is that I read the plan and I'm happy to, approve it. I suppose, have things changed? Obviously we talk in this committee and there was obviously a shortage of HGV and that type of thing. Has things changed as time has gone on? The feedback from industry and I suppose the colleges, are they actively then, going to link in with this action plan and obviously try to deliver what courses are required to. I'm thinking of one industry in particular, which is the hospitality industry, and we've already sort of talked about it in this committee, and I'm hoping that there will be something, you know, to cover that within the linkage between ourselves and the colleges, because I'm still led to believe that that is still an issue out there in relation to staff, and I suppose if we're going to again drive tourism, and one of our tourism I suppose selling points in this borough is the food heartland, and we want to have our restaurants and our cafes and hotels busy, and you need staff. So again, that's just something again, maybe if that's part of that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you for that, Councillor Nicholson. I suppose everything has changed and is always changing, and that's the feedback. We need to take time and stock to evaluate our last action plan, which we will do and bring to members. But we're constantly looking at the horizon in terms of what the statistics are saying to us. And just to reassure you that on the Labour Market Partnership every month, the colleges are represented, the businesses, the business sectoral organisations are there too. We have Northern Ireland Food and Drink Association, who represent a lot of the hospitality businesses there. So we're trying to make sure that whatever comes from this Labour Market Partnership is up to date and is meeting the industry requirements. One of our rapid response programs was a hospitality and tourism rapid response program, and it supported 30 participants with 16 people placed into employment as a direct result of the program. Now, we know that's only a drop in the ocean for what the industry actually needs. So we're going to build on that, and we're going to make sure that we respond to industry. And the thing that I'm really noticing is that there are very niche sectors coming forward. One of them is around the pharmacy industry and pharmacy dispensers, and I know that a number of members have talked to us about that as well. So these little anomalies are things that we're able to help as well through this programme.
Thank you, Nicola. Did you propose there? Okay, thank you. Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Nicola, for your report. Just, picking up and going through the whole report there, and especially HGV, we see there's a possibility of it opening again. So we'll have 34 that have passed the practical, but there's only 6 that have been successful in gaining employment, which is a concern. If we're going to open another program, is there still demand for this out there? And yes, that's what we need to follow up on. And even on your rapid response programs, there seems to be only a 50% uptake on employment at the end of it, in these different sectors. And I know the hospitality, we're hearing it, that they're in major demand for workers. A local hotel has had to go to India to gain staff. So there seems to be a disconnect here within the whole, what we're trying to deliver here. Do our end users know that we are doing this? And is there constant contact with that? But it's a wee bit concerning, and if you look on down your report, the disability gap, Northern Ireland is the worst region within the whole of the UK. And again, I would ask the question, what is this council? Sorry, that's the next one, sorry. Go ahead.
No, can I just ask, can you hear us at home? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's just the Zoom is breaking up here.
Yeah, we can now.
Right, no, the disability gap there, we'll see that we're the worst region within the whole of the UK. And I'd ask the question, what is this council doing about filling this vacancies within that? Because we have mass vacancies within this council right from top to bottom, we're led to believe. And the inactivity, where it says in your report about females, getting females back into the workplace and all, which have great skill sets that we need to be bringing to the fore and helping and supporting in whatever way possible. And again, I would ask the question again, what is council doing itself in that marketplace to try and bring people into employment? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. Nicola, do you want to come back again?
Yes, I'll just come back very, very briefly. The Labour Market Partnership, it's not a programme that is open to everyone. The participants must be either out of work, working 16 hours or less, or in paid employment, but at risk of redundancy. So it is quite, I think it's quite normal to see that the number of people that actually gain jobs at the end of it may be less than there may be on other programmes. The other thing you mentioned was the HGV driving. We've had to extend the HGV rapid response programme because of the difficulty getting times and dates in for people to sit their tests, because there's a huge backlog. So we're just kind of trying to work around and make sure we get as many people through as we can.
Okay, Councillor Savage, you want to come back again?
Briefly. Thanks, Chair, for letting me back in. Yeah, and that's the point to make, Nicola. You know, with 34 that have passed practical and only 6 have gained employment, you know, there's no point if there's not the demand out there in the wider sector, which I find hard to believe. You know, do we run another programme or do we extend the programme? So that's the point I'm trying to get. So that's what we need to get to the bottom of and see. And we need, because we councillors, aldermen, we hear it on the ground every day that can't get vacancies filled, businesses and all. So there needs to be that wider connection with the wider business sector without there. And I'm sure we have a database to push this good news out that we're running these and involved in these rapid response programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. I'm sure I can get you the answers you're looking for there. Did you second that or? Okay, thank you. Alderman Moutry, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the back of some of the comments that have been made, and there have been some very valid points made, but I'm concerned that, you know, we have historically low unemployment rates at the minute. And quite frankly, I would go as far as to say if anybody wants a job, there's a job for them, if they're keen enough to get them. So I don't know, do we need to be tweaking what we're doing as we go forward to try and make it fit better? Because there is, as has been said by Councillor Nicholson, a big demand at the minute in relation to restaurant staff, bar staff, whatever. And in fact, I know businesses today in the borough that couldn't open because they didn't have the staff to open, you know. So do we need to be tweaking what we're doing to try and address that? The figures that have been given to Councillor Savage tonight, the 6 people who got employment, well, you have to think back, those people had to be unemployed at the start. You know, so how serious were all of them about getting employment at the end of it? These are the difficult questions we got to ask and find a way through so that we're utilising the spend that we have right. A few years ago, we brought out a grant for a short period of time, which gave £1,000 to everybody that started up their own business. But council only funded that for 7 or 8 months and it went to the wayside. And I would rather see funding going to something like that, where somebody's using an initiative to try and to start a micro business. So I would then pouring funding maybe to people that don't, on all occasions, really want to be employed. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Moutry. Nicola, do you want to come back?
Chair, just to say, no, those are all fair points, and the LNP action plan has to be based on statistical evidence and from partnership working with the businesses and the various sectors out there, and we're striving to do that.
Thank you, Nicola. And Alderman Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and not to labour the point really, but just, you know, mention's been made quite a bit about the HGV programme, which I thought was a very worthwhile programme on the face of it. But I suppose when we look at it now and see the way it was rolled out, that you had to be unemployed to avail of that. The people there was quite a few people contacted me when it was first brought to council, and there was none of them actually that were unemployed, but they wanted to upskill within their own job and maybe even within their own employment, where say they worked in a factory and, you know, their own factory was looking for looking for lorry drivers or whatever, or even to move on and just try and improve the thing a bit. And I think that those folk probably have missed out. I know some of them were put on a waiting list, and I've been in touch with some of the officers through you, Nicola, in terms of some of the information they were given by the company that was rolling it out in the recruitment agency. But I think those folk probably missed out and would have been ideal candidates for that sort of upskill, something they couldn't afford to do themselves because they're probably in low enough paid jobs, and they would have been ideal. And I would imagine the employment after that would have been quite a bit higher. So I don't know if we have any control, Nicola, over the criteria in terms of having to be unemployed or, you know, at risk of losing your job or redundancy. Have we a control over that? Or as Alderman Ritchie says, is this something we need to look at again and tweak and maybe put the money into something else where there's going to be more, you know, more positive outcomes out of it?
Okay, again, through you, Chair, unfortunately, we don't have any ability to change the criteria. It's set by the Department for Communities. But just to remind members that the programme is all fully funded from the DFC, so there is no council money goes into this. Council's opportunity is to sit down as almost an honest broker in the whole experience to make sure that industry gets what is required and that those that are within those three categories get an opportunity to get a job out of it, and a job that the industry want as well. We don't have the ability to change the criteria.
Thank you, Nicola. So it's proposed and second that we go with the recommendation. We move on to item 4.2, Nicola, business support.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yes, there are 5 decisions required from members. It's quite a lengthy report. It's recommended that members approve £60,000 from the Economic Development Services budget to deliver an interim business growth support programme to support at least 50 micro and small to medium-sized enterprises across the borough between April 23 and September 23. Number 2, give permission to the Chief Executive to appoint a suitably qualified delivery agent to deliver the interim business growth support programme following a robust procurement exercise. Give permission to the Chief Executive to accept a letter of offer from DERA, should it be received during the election period, and give permission to the Chief Executive to accept a letter of offer from Minivape UK for the delivery of a fast follower support programme across Mid-South-West region, if successful. And finally, to note the business support updates included in this report.
Thank you, Nicola. Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose. It is important, and I know I'm led to believe the DERA Rural Business Support Programme's opening up again, and the benefit that has been to a lot of businesses within the SMEs within the rural communities and all. So happy to support, and especially with Agri, the Food Heartland now. And again, just take this opportunity to thank your team for coming out and supporting the night in Dromore High School. Thank the team. They had a very successful night, and I think it's important that we support this. So happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, Chairman, thank you. And thank you, Nicola. Yeah, happy to second. Nicola, just in relation to the DERA rural business, I asked the question at the last meeting, you recall, it was about the lags and that element of it. Is there any more update on that? Sorry, jump in with a different sort of question, but it equally is important, a scheme within communities and rural development within, different communities throughout the area. And as someone on a lag on the SOAR, I've seen firsthand, the benefits these things bring forward. But yes, it's encouraging. The business development grant scheme is on the horizon, but is there any word of the previous, lag scheme that was sort of in the local areas? Is there any word of that? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm not aware of it, but I need to check with community development colleagues who will have that information, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you. Again, proposed and second. There's nobody else, no other lights on. We move on to 4.3, 4.4 and 4.5 are for information, and I'm not going to get Nicola to go through them. If anybody has any questions for that. Okay, so Councillor Tinsley is first on.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. And it's 4.5 with regards to the review of Christmas. And obviously, we've been through Christmas. We're now almost on upon Easter. But it was a great Christmas. I think the whole review, all of the report that has come through has been extremely favourable, and no one had any negative comment about that.
You, Councillor Tinsley, can I just ask again, can you hear me at home?
We can now, but we couldn't the earlier, Chair, so we've missed all Councillor Tinsley has said.
It's okay, the computer keeps going down, so that's just why I'm asking. We don't know what's on, but we'll get an answer. It's something that I had discussed with Nicola before we came in here, was about the Christmas market. So, Nicola, do you want to come back in there?
Yes, thank you, Chair, as you have raised with me and others as well. At the time, whenever we were doing Christmas and having the meetings, I didn't realise that was something that happened traditionally. So I'll have to go back and have a look at that to see what the income was. And we also then have a working group meeting on the 20th of March for the Christmas working group. So if you're happy, we'll raise it at that and then take it from there.
Thank you, Nicola. Do you want to come back, Councillor Tinsley?
Well, yes, I'm not exactly sure what we're raising at the workshop, Nicola. I'm raising it tonight and asking, it's done in previous years. And plus the fact the workshop's not a decision-making body either, even though the decision was made not to support the Merrill charity with the sale of the wristbands. But we're not going to be meeting again till June. And then it'll be a new Merrill office, and it's going to get very messy for the incoming mayor's charities. So to be honest with you, I would like confirmation of it tonight, Mayor, or Chair, or alternative, is that a premonition for June? Or even at full council, if we could have clarity or confirmation about that at full council even.
Certainly, Chair, I'll bring forward as much information as I can for the next suitable meeting.
Thank you, Nicola. And Councillor Kyle Savage. No, it's Kevin Savage this time.
Thank you, Chair. Nicola, just a quick question on 4.31. If you would answer, just in relation to the business support grants for the small settlements. I see that there was 35 letters of offer went out. Would it be possible to furnish members with the details of who they went to? Because I just see there's a second call later in the year, and it might be helpful for us as local representatives to maybe call on businesses that didn't apply or maybe were unsuccessful at this stage to remind them that it might open again. So, Chair, if Nicola could answer that, please. Thank you.
Chair, certainly I'll bring the information back to the next committee meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Nicola. yes, this business support grant for the businesses and the smaller settlements, it was something that I had raised along with Councillor Nicholson at the meeting last month. I am pleasantly surprised that 35 letters of offers were issued, given the very short timescale that was given to the business people. I am glad to see that there's a second call, but could I ask Nicola, is there any indication in relation to the opening and closing of that in relation to time frame? Because obviously the 9th of November it opened and closed on the 1st of December, which in my humble opinion was a very short period of time for businesses to get quotations, like 3 quotations in many cases. And I'm glad that Councillor Kevin Savage had asked for a breakdown. I think it'd be good if we all could see that. But I would just like to ask Nicola, when the second call is open, is there a possibility that it can be a longer period for it to stay open so that businesses can avail of that?
Through you, Chair, yes, of course, we'll take all the feedback on board and weave that into the next tranche of funding, which will open as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you. Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Nicola, again for a very detailed report. There's a lot of programs running there. I suppose the active travel one, I'm drawn to it, the 13 small settlements. And again, the work as one of the very few councillors that actually attended the consultation. And it's great to see that going on. But one thing it is coming to the fore is the DFI's lack of responsibility in some of the work that needs to be carried out within our villages, not, especially within Donaghcloney, Warrenstown, they have neglected work that's done, and I just would hate to think that we're going to be used to, I know this funding is a mixed pot of funding, but again, they need to be made clear of their responsibilities, and they get it from councillors, not just myself, other councillors as well, but there seems to be a lack of responsibility within that department. And but I suppose one thing that has come to the fore in this is the smaller settlements under 1,000 of a population. And there's a lot of them within my own DEA. And they seem to be forgotten about. And we need to be using every effort to lobby for investment, for funding into those small settlements under 1,000 population. And, we need to make every effort to do that. And just, I suppose, sorry, I thought there's somebody else wanting in there. But just on that, Nicola, then the other point, I want to congratulate you and your team for Urban ABC. And it's great that we see that this is done. There's a good feedback coming from the local businesses about this. But it's somewhat alarming whenever we go down the whole thing within council and we see Urban ABC, Get Active ABC, PCSP ABC, and then we see the usual old horse trotting in, Visit Armagh. And especially this council, I believe, needs to get a clear messaging out. And there's no point having all these different things. As ABC, we're led to believe that it's a member-led council. It's Armagh City, Banbridge and Craigavon Borough Council. It's not Armagh Council. And that's something that I think needs to be took back and sorted out ASAP right across the board. But I want to thank your team for the work that you have done in Urban ABC, and I think that's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. We'll move on to Councillor Macaulay was first, and then Councillor Spears.
Thank you, Chair. No, it was really just to really remark on the Christmas toilet markets. I know I attended a couple of them there locally, and I want to congratulate the staff all involved in that, because I know the ones that I attended were very well attended and were certainly a lot of positive feedback from them at Christmas. And the Relaxed Christmas event at Bleary, I know I probably raised concerns about the change in venue and whatnot on that, but I think from all accounts it was a great success. So I just want to put on record my thanks to all the staff who made that happen. And it certainly there were great events at Christmas, and the uptake was very, very positive. So as well. But just to see, in terms of the figures from our Christmas marketing campaign, are they sort of increasing year on year then, or are they seeing any difference from last year to this? And I presume, I do assume that we're coming out of COVID as well, but are you seeing a reasonable increase in the uptake of your marketing campaigns?
Through you, Chair, to give you an accurate update, I'd like to go back and check the figures first and come back to you, Councillor Macaulay.
Okay, thank you.
And then finally, Alderman Spears.
Chairman, just in relation to the environmental improvements within Guildford, Rathfryle and Market Hill, when do we hope to get out to consultation? We're in the standstill period of after appointing the consultancy team. When do we hope to get that rolled out on the ground? And just back to something that my colleague Councillor Savage read, there was one of the reports earlier on which said that the number of people visiting this area was extremely good, 5-point-something% greater. And if the council are promoting the lead part of the area and they're attracting people, they must be doing something right. So I would just put that there in as an afterthought, And I know the point that's been made, but would one want to be saying come and visit Hamilton's Bawn or come and visit Edna Veas? We need to pitch up what we feel is the major attraction. And I think, I'll make no mistake and no apology for it, the major attraction that we have as a council is the Armagh scene. And I'm sorry for the folks that live in other parts of the borough. We can't live everywhere, you know what I mean? You just can't live everywhere. But I think it's good to build up the strength and build from the strengths. And yes, all parts of this area are entitled to support. Well, we talk about equal, but sometimes it's very, very hard to roll that out. But I understand the point that's been made. But I think, in all honesty, we do need to major on our strengths. And how we do that, I think, is probably best articulated by referring to the lead place of their inner area. Thank you, Chair.
I couldn't agree more. Banbridge is better by far. Okay, so we'll move on then to agenda item 5, and that's over to the head of Tourism, Arts and Culture report. Over to you, Bran. Oh, sorry, it is just for information. Has anybody any questions on it? That's okay. So I need a proposer and a seconder to go into committee. Proposed by Councillor Nicholson, seconded by Alderman Anderson. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means we'll be turning off the public feed of the meeting, and this will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me session again. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 7, any other business, and I have not been notified of any other business, so that's the meeting at an end. Thank you very much for your participation.